Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. I'm a proud American from my birth to the grave. 47's the top, took a bullet for all. Didn't flinch, didn't run, still they answer the call. And we said, be tight, be tight, be tight. The Officer Tatum Show. Be tight, be tight, be tight. The Officer Tatum Show. Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. I'm a proud American from my birth to the grave. 47's the top, took a bullet for all. Didn't flinch, didn't run, still they answer the call. And we said, be tight, be tight, be tight. The Officer Tatum Show. Be tight, be tight, be tight. The Officer Tatum Show.
If you don't believe that we are in a fight today, you're sleeping under a rock. If you get hit and you lay down and you cry and you fold up in the corner, definitely you will not win the fight. We show up to win. Our culture needs a lot of you young people in here to step up and stand out. There is nothing or no principality, power, division, devil can stop us when we're united. They can only get you when you're divided. When I see the American flag, I see us progressing to something that can be awesome and great. And if you don't plan on winning then, you might as well go on today.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to the Officer Tatum Show. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out. This like warms my heart to see this thing come to fruition. It was a dream that I had. You know, being a brother, I ain't never been a part of no NASCAR, nothing. And I went to Talladega with Caleb last year, and it blew my socks off. I'm going to give y'all the honest opinion about this Talladega thing. I said, all right, I met Caleb on an airplane. He was sitting right behind me. We started talking. He invited me to Talladega. I went with him, and I said, I know why these rednecks out here doing this. I know why people out here in the middle of nowhere watching these cars go around in circles. I used to think it was crazy. That was one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. And I said, I got to be a part of NASCAR, especially the ARCA series, which is what Caleb races in. But anyway, real quick, before we get into the news, I want to just let you guys know, if you want to be a part of this, you don't have to. If God put it on your heart, be a part of it. It's something special. It's something historic. Nobody's ever done it like this that I know of. And we're making a difference. We're going to make our voices be heard in NASCAR. And I think it's going to go up and up from here. Now, if you want to be a part, if you want to sponsor, you can get this shirt right over here. If you give a $50 donation, that's how much the shirt costs. Premium shirt. This is one of one. We'll never make this again. If you, for $200, you can get your name on the car. We already had several people sign up for $200 to get their name on the car. For $5,000, you have a whole weekend experience. You'll go to dinner with me at Perry Steakhouse in Alabama. It's the best steakhouse that I've been to, especially in Alabama. We got a dinner for all of us, free drinks, free food, you name it. We got it covered. And you'll be in the pit with us, watch the race from the pit, hang out. We'll do lunch. And then the next day we'll go to the Cup race, and we'll watch the race together and hang out as well. So if you want to sponsor any of those levels, just go to the link in the description section or go to my website. You'll see ARCA, and you can click on it, and you can sponsor at any level that you feel comfortable doing it at, okay? I love you guys. I appreciate it. I cannot wait for us to showcase this beautiful car, the uniform, the jerseys, the shirts, everything that we put together is going to be absolutely amazing. Okay, now let's get on to Cory Booker. Now, this part bothered me because I always pray, hope, and dream that minorities would wake up. And I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to be hyperbolic. I'm saying this because I mean it out of my heart. Because when I'm around white folks, can I just be real with y'all? When I'm around white folks, and especially conservatives, and they believe in America, and they believe in entrepreneurship, and they're living in freedom, and they have hope for the future, and they're in public office, or they're informed about politics, and they have a balanced perspective. And then I get around some minorities, not all, and it seems like somewhere we missed it. Somewhere we fell and bumped our head, and we don't understand politics or something. And we end up being like Cory Booker. And also the gentleman that lied about Cory Booker, and I'm going to get to him in a minute. I forget his name, Austin Davis, who's the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. He's the first black lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. I'm sure Cory Booker broke barriers of being the first black something. All of these minorities that are actively in politics, I don't know a single one of them on the Democrat side that have any common sense. So Cory Booker goes off on a rant for the longest filibuster, I'm assuming, in United States history, 25-hour and 5-minute filibuster. And we're going to get to the person that he beat the record over, because it's a whole controversy around it. But we'll get to that in a minute. Listen to Cory Booker just sound like a complete fool talking about Trump. Wrote a clip.
I rise with the intention of disrupting the normal business of the United States Senate for as long as I am physically able. I rise tonight because I believe sincerely that our country is in crisis. We are not solving the deficit in what they're proposing here. They're cutting and cutting and cutting things that make no sense to cut, and they're doing it for tax breaks which disproportionately go to the wealthiest. Placing tariffs on our biggest trade partners is beyond unfair. This drives the cost of goods up, and the consumer is the one who ends up paying the increase. Even with universities got too woke and had too excesses, the antidote to that isn't to try to shut down the thought of the left. It's to try to make a fair, more competitive marketplace for ideas from all around the political spectrum. Person that is doing tyrannical things as he takes our Constitution and continues to trash it, as he's running into judge after judge after judge that's trying to stop him, but we've already seen that he wants to ignore judges, or if he gets real rulings he doesn't like, he trashes the judges. And even the Chief Justice appointed by a Republican says to him, no, this is not right, this is not who we are, this is not how we do things in America. How much more can we endure before we, in a collective chorus of conviction in our country, say enough is enough? Enough is enough. You're not going to get away with this.
The crazy thing is the vitriolic behavior of these people when it comes to Trump. They say nothing when Democrats are being nutty, when Democrats are thwarting the law, when they literally, you have FBI agents texting each other and saying, we're going to do all we can to take down Trump. These are people who work in the federal government trying to concoct a coup within the Bureau of Investigations. And the Democrats are quiet. When you have politicians that are literally making trades in the stock market that clearly shows, in any reasonable person's opinion, that they are insider trading. When you have somebody like Joe Biden that everybody knew was not competent to be the president of the United States of America, he wasn't operational. They knew that he wasn't. They watched him in a debate literally fall apart as if he had dementia, and Cory Bookers of the world said nothing. They watched them investigate Donald Trump all the way back from the Steele dossier that was concocted by by Hillary Clinton's campaign to investigate Donald Trump about Russia collusion. It was never true. They knew it wasn't true. It was proven not to be true. It was proven that it was biased, orchestrated by his political opponent. and they said nothing. When Donald Trump is now being investigated for him doing something that nobody has ever been charged with doing in United States history, because he paid, allegedly, money was transferred for him to pay a prostitute. I call her a prostitute. Maybe if you do porn, you're not a prostitute, which is weird. I guess you get paid for it on video. Somehow you're not. But this woman, allegedly, he paid her for her to be quiet. She signed an NDA. Then you got Michael Cohen is the one that's orchestrating it all. Then they get Donald Trump in trouble with a law that they had to add to in order for it to be a valid felony law, because it was already past the point of prosecution. And they see them do this time and time and time again. People have literally sat there and watched him almost get assassinated. No thorough investigation, no criticism from the left. What are we doing here? And then this guy filibusters for the longest time in history and said absolutely nothing. This is why I have problems with the Democrats. If they were consistent, I would say, all right, I get it. I understand. I get where you guys coming from. I may not agree, but at least you acting in good faith. These people never say anything when their side is doing things that are untoward, things that are detrimental to America. The fact that we've never held our federal government accountable for how they spend our money is asinine. And none of these people will say anything. None of them gave an attempt to do anything. When Barack Obama was deporting more people than anybody in history, Cory Booker and them didn't say anything. Under Barack Obama's administration is when they had the kids in the cages thing. Cory Booker didn't say anything. And then when the cages are on television under Trump's administration, although it was orchestrated under Obama, now Cory Booker is incensed. Now AOC is going to the border and crying in a photo op. When y'all let people in this country unfettered, tens of millions of people, the most ever in history. And then when you start losing in the election, you go, we need to shut the border. Look, Republicans could have shut the border, but they didn't. Y'all had 4 years to do it. You didn't do nothing. But the reason I'm so incensed about Cory Booker's speech, not because of his speech, because his speech is pointless. You will waste your time and your life even listening to it. The real issue is how they're framing this as a political stunt to try to bash the Republicans and Donald Trump. Let me give you an example. Dum Dum McDum-Dum, Austin Davis, who should be ashamed of himself and he should step down or he should delete his post immediately. Austin Davis, which is why I'm still so disappointed in the people of the melanin. When the racist, prejudiced people come out and they say negative things about black people, it's hard to defend at times because you often wonder, put it back on the screen, you often wonder, why is it that our brothers in political positions of power are all ignorant and on the wrong side of history continually? Cory Booker, a worthless person in politics. And then you have Austin Davis. I believe he was the first black lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. Look at what he posted about Cory Booker. Do you have that post? So I'll just say the post. I'm gonna find it here. So this is what he did, right? Let's go to his post. I put it on my Instagram stories. This is essentially what he did. I'm going to read it. So Austin Davis goes off to say, Senator Cory Booker, a black man, he prefaced that, just broke the longest speech record in United States Senate history. The record was previously held by a Republican senator who filibustered the Civil Rights Act in 1957 because he believed in racial segregation. That's the difference between progress and obstruction. Democrats aren't backing down. Now, why did he not say what Republican he's talking about? what Republican had the record for the filibuster of the Civil Rights Act in 1957? Well, you do your research, and it's Strom Thurmond. Strom Thurmond was a Dixiecrat, racist Democrat. He switched parties in 1964. He filibustered in 1957. So why would this black man try to make a claim of black success comparing Democrats to Republicans when the man who filibustered the longest in history against the civil rights movement was a white racist Democrat? I don't understand why they always have to be disingenuous about their approach. They could have just mentioned that he broke the record. They could have just mentioned that the filibuster was against the civil rights movement in his own party. That would have made it more unique that the party has progressed. But they can't do it because they need you to think the Democrats are the ones that are virtuous and the ones that are for the American people, and they're not. This man here, whom Strom Thurmond is a known racist, in my opinion. Joe Biden made mention that Strom Thurmond was his mentor. And nobody talks about that. Strom Thurmond was his mentor. So if this man is a racist and he filibustered the civil rights movement and these idiots are trying to make him out to be a Republican, well, Joe Biden said that was his mentor. And this is the way they frame it. Now, one interesting thing or note about Strom Thurmond is he can't keep his wee-wee in his pants. And although he wanted to be segregated from black people, he don't mind sleeping with black women. So he ended up having a baby with somebody. Let me look at this real quick. He had a baby with a maid or somebody. Jordan told me this, and I got to look for it. That was mixed race. Do we have a picture? That should go right there. Strom Thurmond couldn't get enough of them black women. Maybe he wanted to segregate so he can have a black woman to himself. So he messed around and slept with a black woman, got her pregnant, and had a black child. When the rest of his kids are blonde hair, blue eyes. So I just want to point that out, the hypocrite in Strom Thurmond and the hypocrisy of hatred that people have. Normally, the people that hate a certain group the most are the ones that participate. If a guy is hating gays and saying, I hate gays, they probably gay. Somebody that's giving a fair opinion is reasonable. The person that's just hate, it's a projection. The person that hate black people, they secretly love black women, or they secretly want to sleep with black men, or whatever the case may be. They want to be black. They want to have swag like black people. They want to have music like black people. Really, their favorite athletes are black. Normally, the people who do the most hating are the ones who advocate for the things that they actually hate. You see a guy out here that's bashing pornography every 5 minutes. They probably the one watching pornography. I'm not saying you shouldn't be against things, but y'all know what I'm saying. People that just go over the board. You're like, God dang, bro, your whole platform is this? This all you talk about? You really hate them, okay? Let's go on, because I just want to point out Strom Thurmond was a Dixiecrat. He switched parties because of people who were against the civil rights movement in the Republican Party, which was very rare. The Republican Party unanimously voted for the Civil Rights Act. Also, the Republican Party unanimously voted for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, which is the freedom of slaves, the citizenship of blacks, and then the right to vote for blacks and women. The Republican Party historically have always been lockstep in agreement. Now, do I believe that Strom Thurmond or Barry Goldwater didn't have a constitutional argument? Maybe they did. But was their constitutional argument rooted in racism, or was it reasonable? And I think that it was rooted in racism. Now, I don't know about Barry Goldwater, but Strom Thurmond was a racist. Okay? All right. I think I beat that pony to death. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I got who he slept with. It says daughter of Strom Thurmond, Carol Butler, a black woman. I thought we had what she was to Strom Thurmond. Okay. Thurmond, segregationist, had an affair with Butler, resulting in his daughter's birth. Strom Thurmond, personal contract. I don't know who she was, though. Maybe I thought that her name was Butler. Maybe I thought she was a butler. But anyway, these people are weird. Let's go to the next topic. So Kid Rock comes out on Fox News, and we've been talking about this for a while when we were expressing that Bill Maher was going to go have dinner with Donald Trump. And the dinner consisted of Donald Trump, Dana White, and Kid Rock. And Bill Maher, whom I respect him to a point that he's willing to not be a leftist lunatic in the face of reality. He's changed his perspective on a lot of things. He's opened his understanding up. He's willing to interview other people. I respect that. One thing that I feel that I understand, but I don't respect to a certain degree, is people who just refuse to be honest and move over to the other side. If you are saying that Democrats are bad, they have no message, they have no people, they're completely terrible, the woke stuff is out of control, but I'm still a Democrat. That to me tells a lot about your fear of coming across the fence. Him, Stephen A. Smith, and others like that have convenient support for the right thing when it's right for them. Now, I do understand that when you're looking at making $100 million, that you may not go full Republican, right? Stephen A. ESPN just signed him for a $100 million, 5-year, $100 million contract. So I get it. You can't go too far. You ain't gonna get no money. You might as well make that money. I just don't believe that I would ever do anything like that. Okay, let's listen to what Kid Rock had to say about the meeting between Bill Maher and Donald Trump. He was on Hannity's show, wrote a clip.
All right, joining us now with more on yesterday's White House. Well, dinner, music, meeting, Kid Rock. What a cool idea. How did you pull this off? How did you make that happen? And this is one of those moments I would have loved to have been a fly on that wall.
Yeah, I heard that from a lot of people. They wanted to be flies on the wall. It started for me doing Bill's show and doing his podcast last year and again this year. And you know, they actually have things in common. And him and Trump, as hard as they've been on each other, and Bill's been more than a little unkind to the president over the years. And I've kind of friendly with them both, and I said, man, what if you could sit down and meet him and break bread? That's one thing I've found in life is, nothing gets solved and this country's so divided. I'm like, what if we could just have some laughs, talk about some things we agree on, and maybe just try to set an example for the reasonable people of this country that, it's okay to disagree on things, and, we can talk a little smack about each other, but at the end of the day, we're all on the same team.
Well, we're on the same team. We live in the greatest country on earth, fair enough. But he's been a hard, harsh critic of President Trump. So you asked the president about it, and what was his first reaction?
He called me a couple times. He's like, Bob, what the hell have you got me into? I'm like,
that's funny.
I talked to I said, Mr. President, I've talked to Bill. It was very nerve-wracking for me leading up to it, because I'm like, what if this goes terrible and things go sideways? It ruins a lot of my credibility with someone I consider a dear friend, the president. But my heart was totally 100% pure going into this, just trying to do the right thing. And Bill totally got it. Bill's like, Bob, I'm not going to sabotage something that could potentially bring us and maybe this country closer together. I was like, Mr. President, he totally gets it. And these guys, my mind was blown. That's all I can say is just how well they got along. We talked about things we had in common. The president, gave us a great tour of the White House again, even the private residence. It was just, and then he even called me later that night. Me and Dana went out after to, smoke a cigar and just catch up. And it must have been closer to midnight. The president called me, and he thought it went great. So did I. I go, that was incredible.
So
I don't know.
Bring us all in that room, though.
Hold on a second.
You talked about things that
I got to break it up a little bit because I don't want to get copywritten, okay? Because this is a Fox clip. But so far, what we've heard, it was very encouraging. And the funny thing is, Kid Rock is so down to earth. You're getting a genuine perspective of what he's saying. He's not saying this, and then later we find out that it was a crap show. But I do believe, as much as I talk trash, as much as I criticize people, sometimes I do it in jest because I like to have a good time and make you laugh. But as much as I say these things, I do understand that when you sit down and talk to people, you normally have a different perspective. I don't care if you hate them or you feel like you hate them. I don't think you should hate anybody. You can hate what people do, but you don't hate the person. But even if you hate what a person does, I guarantee you when you sit down with them, one or two things are going to happen. Majority of the time, you're going to realize they're not as bad as they seem, right? Some of the things that they say, maybe they are acting in good faith, and then we really do agree on a lot of stuff. Or they're going to be a narcissist lunatic, and you're going to be like, oh, my God, this person is just as bad as I ever thought they were. Because some people are horrible. Most of it is miscommunication. I think if I sat down with Bill Maher, I feel like I have good discernment. I don't know. Maybe I don't. Maybe I do. I think I do. That if I sat down with him, I'll be like, he's exactly what I thought he was. He's exactly who I thought he was. When I met Dana White, I think Dana White was cooler than I thought he was. Like, I thought Dana White was such a big deal that he would have a little bit of like, like y'all, you little guys are down here, I'm up here. I thought he would have a little of that with as much how straightforward he is. But Dana was the coolest guy that I've ever met that has been that famous. And so maybe it is a little different. However, when you sit down with certain people, I think people will have a different opinion. 99.9% of people who disagree with me and they come watch me speak and they see me at an event or they see me in person, they all change their mind and they all begin to agree with me. I have never had a person that disagree with me online, met me in person, and came to my speech and said, I still disagree with you. I have never had it happen. It's for the most part. Some people still disagree with minute things, but I'm saying completely feel the same way they do watching me online as they do in person. But let's finish this clip. Roll it.
Agree on, I would assume, borders, wokeism, things like that. Was there any disagreement at any point? What was Maher's reaction walking in there? My understanding is this was his first time, and he's donated a fortune to Democrats. He never got invited by any Democrat to the White House?
I couldn't believe that when he said that he'd never been invited to the White House. And not only are we in the White House having dinner, but then the president's like, we'd like to see the private residence. I'm like, oh, again? Yes. And Bill's like, I've never even been here. And it just blew my mind, going up there and he's such a gracious host. You know how he is. He's so fun to be around. He's so pleasant, so funny, so smart, just a guy's guy. And and all of us there are sticks and stones guys. So jokes, we don't care about that. Like, a lot of these snowflakes over the years have been, you say one thing and they're all butt sore about it. Like, we don't care about that. But man, it was incredible just watching them be cordial. Dana was sitting there. Dana's like, man, you did a great thing, Bob. This is a great thing. And it really made me feel good, It made me feel proud to I've been a very polarizing figure in my own right. I get that. So just trying to do something good, and bring people together.
You've been polarizing? No way. I don't believe that for 1 second. All right. So Bill's going to go on his show. And what do you think, based on being there, he's going to say?
I think he's going to say nice things about the president. He's not going to have a MAGA hat on, and he's probably not going to vote Republican anytime.
Is he going to have his lifetime? Will you have your outfit on? Your Evel Knievel, patriotic outfit. Oh,
here's a fun story. So I was in the Oval Office with that outfit on, and so I brought a change of clothes for dinner. That thing was very hot, so I was changing clothes. But Dana told me, he goes, Bob, you missed it. When Bill Maher walked into the Oval Office, he said he looked pretty nervous, this, that, and the other. And, the president said something to him real nice, and Bill's like, I need a drink. And, the president's like, get him a drink. What do you want? He said, I want a margarita. And the president had his people grab a margarita, and I grabbed a beer, and, man, we had a great time.
All right, so go back to my question, though, and I interrupted you.
The funny thing is that, would you guys, do you think you guys will hear a story like this from Biden? Like, would you hear a story like this from Obama? Maybe Obama. But it seems as if it wasn't for Trump derangement syndrome and the evilness from the media, God is my witness, Donald Trump would be the coolest president to ever live. He would actually be the most popular president, the most beloved president to ever live. And one thing you guys got to realize is that I think in history, 20 years from now, I always say 20 years from now, Donald Trump is going to be the greatest president and the most popular president to ever live. His popularity is going to come after he's gone. I'm telling you guys, Martin Luther King was the most unpopular, one of the most unpopular people when he was alive. A lot of people don't know that. I think his approval rating was like 15 or something. He was one of the most unpopular. I got to look it up. Martin Luther King's approval rating was like, can somebody look that up for me? Martin Luther King approval rating was like dismal. I couldn't believe it. I thought everybody loved Martin Luther King. He had the Million Man March, he did all that. His approval rating was terrible. And when he's dead, now he has statues and everything. And that goes for good people and bad people. Because your boy George Floyd, nobody even knew who crackhead Floyd was. And then he dies, rest his soul. I hope he went to heaven. But when he dies, now he got statues and everybody in the world know who George Floyd is. It's almost like when you die, people begin to elevate you. If you were bad, they'll elevate you. If you were great, you'll become greater. And I honestly believe that about Donald Trump. When he's gone, I know people don't want to believe he can ever go. He can't live to 120, so at some point he's going to be gone. And he's going to be so much more popular, and there's going to be stories that come out about how great he was. There are going to be stories about Elon Musk and Doge and what we did for the first time ever in United States history. We balanced the budget, and this is a crucial point because the world was coming to an end as we know it in America financially. But then we recovered it, and our country was built back better, and these are the accomplishments he had. All of those things are going to happen when Donald Trump is 20 years from now. Roll the clip.
He goes on his show. Is he going to say, I really like this guy? We had a really good conversation. We had a meeting of the minds. Were there any points that they disagreed? What is he going to say?
I believe he is going to go on his show and say nice things. I think he's going to say that we still don't agree politically. No, it really freaks out Bill when people are talking about a third term, this, that, and the other. He brought that up, and the president, they talked about it a little bit. That was something I would consider private. I feel uncomfortable sharing that. If the president wanted to, he could, but we basically stuck to things that we agreed on, and they both have extremely deep knowledge of American history. Both very smart guys and, very reasonable people, even though they've had this, pretty harsh relationship. It was a cool, I'm like, if they can do it, maybe that family member you have with that you disagree with that's divided you politically, or that someone, is social standing with a neighbor or somebody, maybe you can, go back and be like, hey, man, let's have dinner and talk about what we do have in common.
Well, I think it's a great thing that you did on every level. What was maybe a moment that stood out, something that you feel free to share, where maybe like Maher's reaction or something? I mean, you said he was nervous when he came in. He had the drink that hopefully settled him down a little bit. I'm not sure if he's allowed to smoke weed in the White House. I know he talks a lot about that, although some people have, according to reports. But in all seriousness, was there a moment where you saw a connection that you didn't expect?
Oh, the whole dinner. The
Wow.
tour around the White House. It was, the president was so engaged with Bill. Usually me and Dana are very good friends with him. So, when we're in the room, he's usually pretty engaged with us. And he was so engaged with Bill the whole dinner. Me and Dana just kind of sat back and enjoyed the show. And our minds were both blown that, how gracious the president was to have him there, number one. That's a big deal to have him there, to reach out and say, to let me reach out and say, hey, can I bring this guy to dinner? And he's like, yeah, let's try it. And he was just engaged with him the whole time. There was nothing negative. And Bill was really funny too. He loosened up. He was great. He had some funny jokes. It just couldn't have gone better. I was really happy.
Good. I love it. I think they're going to talk in circles if we let them keep going. I looked up the approval rating of Martin Luther King. I think we probably still have the same one. Gallup poll in 1963 found that 41% of Americans viewed him favorably. So it wasn't as low as I said it was, but it was pretty significantly low. Now, black people, 92% of black people, but only 35% of whites held a positive view of Martin Luther King. 1966, overall favorability decreased to 33% in Gallup polls, and those who viewed him unfavorably increased. The Harris poll revealed a lower approval rating of about 25% amongst white Americans and 52% amongst black Americans. Post-assassination, in 2011, the Gallup poll showed 94% of Americans had favorable opinions of Martin Luther King. Do y'all get what I'm saying here? When he was alive in 1968, and this is after I'm assuming, if I know my stuff right, this is during and after the period of the Civil Rights Act being passed. His approval rating was down to 25%, and his approval rating was almost half from black people at 52% when he was alive. 30%, 52%. After he got assassinated by 2011, he's at 90+%. This is why I'm saying, which I don't think is right. I think that Martin Luther King's approval rating was consistent with what he was actually producing at the time he was alive. I think they made him into a martyr, and they retold history of Martin Luther King. Let me just say, don't get mad at me, y'all. Just know Brandon Tatum is always the one that's not afraid to tell the truth. When you do research about Martin Luther King, you'll realize the reason why black people lost respect and trust and approval for Martin Luther King. The black people today are delusioned by this idol that they've created in Martin Luther King. They don't tell you about his affairs. They don't tell you about some of the negative things that he did. They don't tell you about how he was a communist. He wasn't a conservative. He would not have been a Republican. He worked with communists. These things we don't know because we weren't alive. The people alive knew it. And that's why they begin to distance themselves from Martin Luther King. But then now they've revised history. And this is the scary part about what's going to happen 20 years from now. Because I think the opinions of Trump is very strong. It's going to get stronger. But I do think people like the devils amongst us, Black Lives Matter and all these other groups, are going to be revised as something more positive than they were. Because black people were sold out to the Democrat Party. And I know I'm right. You can do your research. Black people got sold out to the Democrat Party. They lost their independence. They became dependent on the government. And they bought into these politicians that did nothing but ruin their communities. Black communities have not gotten better. Black people have improved because they've moved out of these communities. When a black man succeeds, he moves out of the inner city community. He moves out of the primarily black community, unless you live in Atlanta or maybe one other place in America. But for the most part, black people are exiting the communities they grew up in, the communities that are historically black, when they get a level of middle class income or higher class income. That's because the communities are not sustainable for an upgrade in success. It's not sustainable. The crime is out of control in many cases. Drug dealing is out of control in many cases. And the property value, when Black Lives Matter was around, where were they burning up fast food restaurants at? In the black neighborhoods. Where's most of the violence in America? Let me say this, and people think I'm trying to like bash black people. I'm really not, man. I just got to tell the truth because nobody else will. If you look at gun violence in America, we don't have a gun violence problem outside of black Americans. It's not as significant outside of black Americans and inner city gun violence. We don't have a big problem with gun violence. Over half of all of our murders that occur in this country are done by African Americans. Over half. And that's only like 2% of the population. And less than 2%, I would argue. Because black people make up 13%. Black men make up, 6%? Half of it? And then not every black man is capable of doing crime. You got the old and you got the young. Then you find every black man in the middle. And then you got to cut it out. Most of the violence is between 16 and 35. So cut that number down. Every black man between 16 and 35. Every black man ain't a criminal. So then you go even lower than that. The criminal element of 16 to 35-year-old is the ones that are perpetuating the most violence. That's probably less than 1% of the population is committing half of the murders that exist today. And we ain't gonna talk about the shootings that don't result in murders, but it's still violence. Majority in the inner city communities. Instead of people pointing it out and changing, they want to point at the white man down the street that ain't got nothing to do with it anymore. And these people alive ain't got nothing to do with it. I'm saying white people in general ain't got nothing to do with it anymore. All right, let's get to the next topic. I want to talk about Andrew Schultz. This is another situation where I don't want to be, I'm not trying to bash black people, but put it up on the screen. Andrew Schultz and Ryan Clark. I don't think I can find a person that's in a significant position of power as a black man that if you round it all up, 80% of them are silly. Ryan Clark, listen to what Ryan Clark says and listen to what Andrew Schultz says. Why is Andrew Schultz more reasonable and level-headed than Ryan Clark? Ryan Clark is an NFL star. He played alongside Sean Taylor, my favorite player. Ryan Clark played in the NFL for I don't know how long. Pro bowler. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, maybe not. But he was an incredible football player. One of the hardest hitting people in the league. Ryan, why can't you wake up? Listen to what he's saying. Roll the clip.
And the intention was to make people laugh. And I think the issue I have with
Let me put this in context real quick. Andrew Schultz told a joke on his show, joking about the black woman effect. They had two other comedians on there, or two other political people on there. Not political people, they were content creators. Had a few people on there. It was all a big joke, and I guess Ryan Clark got offended about it, made a statement against Andrew Schultz, and now they're coming together to talk about it. Roll it.
Said was that, like, I felt it was framed as if, like, I was unaware of these things that you were saying. You were like, I want to tell you what, like, black women mean to me. And then you told, like, beautiful stories about, like, you know, your mother and what she did for you, and, like, your wife and what she was doing for you when your health was bad. You know what I mean? And I'm listening to this and I'm like, wow, like, black women will do anything for their children, and they'll do anything for their husband when they're sick. And I was like, I think my mom and wife are black.
I want to explain to him the black experience, the black woman experience from my point of view. It was watching my mother start from a bank teller and work her way up for decades to run her own collateral department, only to be mistreated when the bank was sold to another bank, and be so sick on Sunday that I finally had to say, hey, Mom, you're old enough to retire. It was to see her go to that same job, 8 to 5, to be treated anyway that she had to be treated because she only had a high school diploma, and then find ways to not only feed me, but do homework with me and my brother, take us to practice because my dad worked 3 jobs. That was the first black woman experience that I had. Right. The second black woman experience I had is marrying a black woman and watching her sleep on my cot as doctors try to figure out why I'm 140 pounds and I'm a 30-year-old man who was 205 pounds a month before that. Her telling me months after that she would just go in the bathroom and cry every night in the hospital.
I guess we ran out of clip. I thought we had a little more clip. Let's put this in perspective. Put him back on the screen. Let's put this in perspective real quick. Andrew Schultz's joke was so much more intelligent and prominent than what Ryan Clark is trying to say. It's not about a black mama, white mama thing. And I don't know how successful, wealthy black people are stuck in this. It's a good mama thing. Everybody who had a good mama would do things like this, like work her way to the top or work herself to the bone just to not get a promotion, but she still come home and take care. You think white people don't do this for their kids? You think Mexican people don't do this? Good parents do this for their kids. It's not a black thing. There's plenty of black women that's screwing their kids over. That's why they're in prison, because they black mama didn't do nothing. And then Ryan Clark is saying, and my daddy worked 3 jobs. Wait a minute, Ryan. Wait a minute. This is where I question the story just a little bit. Your mama working at a bank teller, and she had her own collateral. She ran a collateral group or whatever, which is a promotion, I'm assuming, from a bank teller. Your whole life is what you're explaining. Because at one point she didn't get the promotion. You said she's old enough to retire. So your mama worked at this bank pretty much your whole life. And you telling me your daddy worked 3 jobs your whole life? So your whole life, your mama working a job, your daddy working 3 jobs to make what living? Where did you grow up? How many siblings? Somebody look up how many siblings Ryan Clark have. For your parents to work 4 jobs for 20 years. And y'all was just barely making it? Let me just explain what I think happened. And I could be wrong. No offense to this story. Maybe he could tell a story and prove me wrong. This is what I think as an opinion. His mama worked on that job, and at periods of times, his dad had multiple jobs. Nobody can work 3 jobs in a row. Full-time jobs? Are you saying daddy worked? I could say my daddy had 2 jobs. He was a firefighter, and my daddy worked at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. He had 2 jobs. No, not really. Daddy only worked the games. It was a side gig that he did. Do you count that as a second job? So I don't think, black people sometimes, and it's not just black people, it's black people in these situations, but white people do it, women do it, men do it. People exacerbate or exaggerate their testimony in order to make it sound stronger than it is. How many siblings he got? Brother and sister. Ryan Clark got a brother and sister, so it's 3 of them. It's just 3 total? 3 total. Not unless one of his family members is disabled or something. But it's only 3 of y'all, and you telling me your parents working 4 jobs to take care of 3 kids. It don't make sense. But people do this because he got to have a one-up over the statements that Andrew Schultz said. He got to have a one-up. So he got to make this crazy scenario where his mama was just working so hard, and she probably did work hard. But that's not unique to black mamas. That's not like a white kid don't have no idea that women can work that hard. Because white women work hard too. Black women work hard. Asian women work hard. Single mothers work hard. But Ryan Clark and them can't. But let me tell you this. At the same time, Ryan Clark knows this, I know this, you know this, is that, yeah, your mama was like that, but you telling me you ain't never ran into no black woman that was crazy? You telling me you ain't never been in a relationship with a black woman that was nutty? Bro, your mama was a good one, your wife a good woman, but you telling me you ain't had no bad experience with black women? Get out of here, bro. You ain't telling me that none of your friends on that podcast had any negative experiences with black women. Get out of here. It's superfluous. Black women are, to be honest, black women, especially single mom black women, don't have a great reputation when it comes to the finished product. And it's not all their fault because these sorry men don't help them take care of these kids. Some of these women create environments where the man can't be around and then he ain't take care of the kids. It ain't that they don't want to be there. It's that because he don't want to be in a relationship, he can't see his kids. Because he ain't doing what she want him to do, he can't see his kids. So there are women that are like that. Every deadbeat, every man, every kid or family without a dad ain't because the dad a deadbeat. Now there are men who are deadbeats that she don't want to be with him, so he don't want to see his kids. It happens all too often in the black community. So I'll finish it with this. Stop being disingenuous. That means that quit making it about race. Because unfortunately, but honestly, black people don't have a real strong stance anywhere when it comes to comparing yourself or degrading any other race. You got to take a back seat and say, let me sit this one out and not be so brash and judgmental of all these other groups when the group that I'm in is failing on multiple fronts in comparison to others. Education, incarceration, violence, you name it. And even the successful black men amongst us, find me somebody that's not talking crazy, and I'll find you 10 of them that are talking crazy. even the successful men that are worth millions of dollars like Ryan Clark, everybody on this podcast have made millions for sure. You go down a list of politicians, you name it. LeBron James, these sport icons, they are still with millions and millions of dollars in their pocket, with opportunities that have been afforded to them by white people. They are still promoting that this country isn't fair and that black people got some big disadvantage. And it's mind-blowing. All right. I want to do this one last video, and then I'm out of here. I want to follow up. Hold on. I think I did the pastor. I'm talking about the pastor, right? Pastor Marvin Sapp. So Marvin Sapp had a follow-up. This is not going to be long. It's be a very simple clip. If you guys remember, I had a conversation about Marvin Sapp. He's one of the most legendary. He would go down in the Gospel Music Hall of Fame. He is one of the greatest gospel artists to ever live and that ever will live. I still listen to all of Marvin Sapp's songs, all of them. I don't think Marvin Sapp necessarily is the bad crook in this situation. If you go back and look at my other video, when he got caught up in this viral video of him telling them to shut the doors and asking for $40,000, I don't necessarily think that he is the evil proponent of this. I think he's a product of the modern church, because he's going to explain it here, which everybody knows that you know anything about Marvin Sapp. He's probably very wealthy. He is the greatest gospel music singer, probably most prolific. But in the microcosm of these churches, they put pastors in a position to pimp. And I don't think it's necessarily his gross intention to pimp people, but he gotta be a fundraiser for the church because they're not managing stuff or whatever they're doing, that they need 40,000 from the people that's just coming and showing up. Why not 45,000? Why not 50,000? Why not 100,000? Why not 39,000? What is 40,000? And the fact that a pastor don't explain that to the parishioners and the people that are going to the church and telling people to shut the doors, you're putting yourself in a position to be a part of the problem, which vicariously you are the problem. And so I'm going to let Marvin Sapp say his piece, and then I'm going to comment on it, roll it.
And my membership had dwindled after my wife
Hold on,
had
let's go
passed.
back. He's on Ricky Smiley's radio show. I don't know if you guys know who Ricky Smiley is, black guy, comedian. Ricky Smiley been doing this since I was like 3. Ricky Smiley was one of my favorite comedians. And as I become an adult, I realized that these people are crazy. Ricky Smiley is one of the biggest Trump haters and white people haters. Roll the clip.
Because I had to travel more.
Start over.
And my membership had dwindled after my wife had passed because I had to travel more in order to take care of me and my kids.
Right.
So, you know, my membership, it dwindled, but we never lost anything. And as a matter of fact, this is factual. The day I announced the new pastor, I burned the mortgage of the church. When I left Grand Rapids, I left my church not only debt-free, but I left them with 6 figures in the bank and put a brand new pastor in and walked away and moved to Texas. I'm not walking around here trying to be a pimp. I'm not trying to take advantage of people. That's never been my passion. I'm serious about ministry. And let me go one step further. There's a whole lot of other pastors around here that are doing the same thing. Most pastors in America are bivocational, meaning they have jobs outside of their churches. The average church size in America is only 75 people. Look it up. It's factual. So we're not getting rich off the church. I am bivocational. I'm a W-2 employee at my church. I have a syndicated radio show that I do every week to over 60 different markets. I own real estate. I have mutual funds. I have annuities. I have stocks. I play the market. I took my money and I didn't trick it.
money that you made from
money that I made
hit
from music,
records.
from hit records. I'm one of the only gospel artists with billions of streams.
And you tour.
And I tour. I just came off of a tour.
Sure.
That I made tons of money on, and I'm at the crib right now chilling because I don't have to go on tour. I can wait and do my next date.
But basically, you saying all that to say you don't need no $40,000.
I don't.
Got it.
And I will take it if they gonna give it to me. But I did not raise this money for the premise and purpose.
And that was
of
a program
coming to
that helped you get to where you
They
are.
gave me a platform.
So I got to get better at this, y'all. I apologize. I got to get more of the clip so we can get more understanding of what's going on. But I'm listening to what he says, and I don't disagree with him. But it's the problem is, if you're making so much money and you're so popular and you don't need to, why are we asking people in the church to give this money, and we got a specific dollar amount? Why don't we just be transparent? That's the part that I think he's getting caught up in. I love Marvin Sapp, and I'm coming from a place I'm his biggest fan. I could pull the music up right now. I got Marvin Sapp all over my playlist. I listen to his music. When I drove from Fort Worth all the way to Phoenix, I had Marvin Sapp playing as one of the most primary albums I was listening to on a 14-hour drive. So I'm not coming from a place I don't like Marvin Sapp. I love Marvin Sapp. But I don't like the way they're orchestrating these things in the churches. You gotta, it's a momentum thing, y'all. It's traditional, it's cultural. They've been doing this for so long that that's the only way they can operate. It's every now and again having some fundraising thing. And they gotta pimp, kind of pump and prime the church. And I think Marvin wouldn't have got in trouble if he wouldn't have said close the doors. It appeared that he was making people stay in there and making them give. And I think that the better way to do this is being authentic and saying, we have to pay people who performed up here. You guys were entertained. You guys received something today, and we can't pay them. And they deserve to get whatever their thing is. Let's come together and make sure we take care of our people. We need $40,000 to cover this. Let's give. Everybody that can give, just give. I don't know what your dollar amount is. I don't know what God purposed in your heart. But if we had 1,000 people give $20, that'll get us to 40. But I want us to give as God has called us to give. If you tell people that, you can't get in trouble for pimping, because you told them, we did this, we put this event, it costs money. So let's put our money together and let's help out. But the tradition is to be scammy. The God said I see a vision of prosperity, and people are creating their own God. God has said he's going to bless 45 people if you give $1,000. There's 45 people that can give $1,000 right now. Come on, get in line. What does that do? Some people probably got credit cards that they'll put that on. That's not money. That's a credit card. Unless you got an Amex where you pay it every month and you just use it to get the points. But that ain't money in your pocket if you going into debt with an interest rate. So some people, and then they see people, I've been there. Y'all been there if you go to a church if you went to a church like this, where you feel guilty. Because everybody's going to the front and you in the back, and you're wondering, oh man, they can't see me. I ain't gave nothing. Oh man, I do got $1,000, I guess. Should I sell something? Should I put it on my credit card? I only got $2,000 in my pocket. Oh, is God gonna bless me? They putting people in this emotional dilemma, when in fact we should pump and prime people to give as God has called us to give, an offering, not grudgingly or of necessity. I'll tell you this, and I'm done. Every single fundraiser that I have ever done on this channel, and we've raised over $1 million, I believe, with all the stuff that we've done. Every fundraiser that I've ever done, I tell people very clearly, this is the money we were trying to raise. This is why we're raising it. And let me add this. Do not give if you do not feel compelled to give. I got other opportunities for you to give. Anytime I've ever said anything, I want you to give out your heart. I want you to give from abundance. I want you, God, whatever God is dealing with you on, whether it's $2, whether it's $3, whether it's 50 cents, that don't matter. Because when you giving, a person giving 50 cents and a person giving 50,000, in God's eyes, if your heart is in the same place, you giving the same money. If all you got is 50 cents and this person got $20 million in the bank and all they giving is 50,000 and they could give more and God knows they can give more. When people would give in the Bible, they would just give what they had and God blessed them. And the person with abundance that refused to give, they weren't blessed. They weren't as blessed. Maybe it's a little blessing going, but they ain't as blessed. That's what I wish churches would encourage people. And if you can't make the mortgage, you maybe need to downgrade your church. If you can't make the bottom line at your church, maybe you should cut back on things that you're doing, because you should be trusting God that the people are going to give as God has called them to give, and that's going to give you the abundance that the church needs. You shouldn't have to beat people over the head and beg them. You should just keep your expenses down. Anyway, I love you, Marvin Sapp, but I just don't like how that happened. Let's get the super chats real quick. All right. Love you, staff and family. NASCAR is so fun. I was in an auto shop in high school, helping build a stock car, was part of the pit crew, and went to NASCAR and had a blast. 100%. NASCAR was crazy to me. I want y'all to think of this just real quick. Anything that you think about and you say, why is that sport so popular? You got to go check it out, because there's something majestic about sport and crowds getting together and stuff. Like, when you go to a concert and you see people do a comedic skit, watching it on TV and being in person is very different. When you go to a concert and your favorite artist is singing on the board, listening to it in your ears and seeing the person performing with the crowd is different. Watching cars go on the TV and you are there, that is a different experience. With all the people looking at the stadium in Talladega in the middle of nowhere with thousands of cars and police officers everywhere, and going and hearing that roar of them cars going around that track. I remember I was on a pit and I was like, oh, and we were at ARCA. ARCA is entry level to NASCAR. I'm like, oh, that's why people go to this. It's a freaking blast. Anyway, I want to see y'all there at Talladega. Let's see. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Brian Kim's YouTube channel. I forgot. Clearview Tax. I forgot about that. I got to get to that at some point. You should do a show with Benny Johnson. I said the same thing to him on the show earlier. I respect and look forward to both of your show daily. I love that. Appreciate it. One day I'm going to get my show on the right time where you can expect it at the same time. I can't wait to see the day when the political segregation stops and we can open up again and communicate with one another. We already got one side at the table. Now we need the other. Appreciate it. Don, thank you for being a member for 8 months. I appreciate it. God bless you. God bless you as well. Let's see. Teresa, name some things you would suggest a man start doing to start becoming more of a man. A man that acts like a I know what you're saying. For lack of better terms, laugh my butt off. Well, let me just use this real quick. The first thing a man can do is put God first. Ain't no way you're going to line your life right. It's not going to go right. You're not going to be in positions to be successful as you can be if you don't put your priorities right. You got to put God first. Then you have to love yourself. A lot of people don't love themselves. They hate themselves. And then they begin to project it on other people. You got to love yourself. How do you love yourself? Take care of yourself. Feed your body good stuff when you can. I know everybody's not going to be perfect. Work out, exercise, walk, work on your mental, visualize, dream big. Love yourself. Sometimes you got to go walk in the mirror and look at your face in the mirror. It sounds weird, but it's weird when you do it. But it'll make you think. When you begin to value yourself, you begin to love yourself, you begin to maximize who you are. You got God, now you built up as a person, now you can radiate. Then you start building relationships with other people. How do you do that? By loving people, being genuine to people. That's how a man become a man. Understanding that violence is not always the option. You don't always have to feel like you got to assert yourself. Just be yourself. And that'll be enough. And that's the only thing I can really say, man. Quit chasing women. That's another thing. Chase your purpose. And the woman that you want will come run you down. Like she in a high-speed chase. Like I used to run them in crooks down when they used to run from me. I used to run them down. It didn't take me long to catch them either. But you chase your purpose, the money, the fame, the success, and them fine women that you think you want will come hounding you. And that's pretty much what it is. So if you think you're going to chase women, you're going to lose your purpose. You think you're going to chase money, you lost your purpose. You think you're going to chase your dreams, you lost your purpose. You got to chase your purpose, and everything else will come with it. All right. Let's see, B. Tatum, thank you for the advice. I put a report with police. They are going to take care of it. I don't remember your story. I kind of remember your story. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure I gave you good advice. All right, Cassandra, thanks so much. God bless you, B. Tatum. I enjoy your show. Thank you. God bless you guys. Thank you for watching my show. Make sure y'all go to the link in the description section and click and support the Talladega experience. $5,000. You do the whole weekend with me, dinner, everything. The dinner itself is insane. I got us at a steakhouse. All the food is covered. I'm talking about Wagyu. I think I picked the Wagyu as one of the options. I can't remember, but it's either a petite filet, a Wagyu, a ribeye. We got a whole bunch of appetizers. I think I added some crab cakes or something. You can pick whatever you want. And I told them, look, the first two on me. All right. If you want a old fashioned or something like that, I got you. The first two on me. You start drinking past 3, you're doing too much. All right. You got to pay it on your own. But the first 3 on me, baby. Maybe I'll do more. I don't know. It just depends. Maybe I'll do all of them on me. But you got to have an Uber. If all of them on me, you got to be Ubering. You can't be driving and you're going to do all on me. All right. You get it? All right. And then we'll go in the pit, hang out, everything. If $50 support, you'll get a T-shirt, one of our custom T-shirts that will never be made again. You'll never see another one. This is a one of one. And if you do $200, you'll get your name on the car. And you'll get a signed picture and all of that stuff that comes with it. Link is in the description section. I want to see you guys at Talladega. We're going to have an incredible time. We're going to make history. I want you to be a part of it if you can. All right, I'm out.
Oh, the land of the free.